Hello, friends. We are back. Brooke and Jessica coming at you with week 4 of How to Become a Writer. What's next? We are so excited. Thank you for staying with us. If this is the last one or the first one that you have tuned into, this is actually our last of this little How to Become a Writer webinar that we have done. So go back, watch the first 3. You'll have a wealth of knowledge. We want to bring this all together at the end to kind of tell you, like, now that you know what the publisher, what the editor, what the writer needs to be doing, goals, tools, all the things, all as much meat as possible. So, like, what's our next steps? How do we accomplish this? So, we have a couple of things, and we're going to also give some personal stories as well, which I think is going to be good and maybe help you as the listener feel like you're not alone. So, Brooke, first off, I'm Jessica, the founder and publisher of Abound Publishing. Yay! If you want to go and follow us both, we both have social medias. You can find out what we're doing. Just catch up with us and see what we're all about, and make sure you like and subscribe, because that's how you know when we post things and what we're doing. So, Brooke, tell us who you are and let us know what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm Brooke Black. I'm the founder of BLACKBEAR Communications, a ghostwriting and editing firm in St. Louis, Missouri. And last week we touched on the different types of editors and how to find one, how to use one, what to expect an investment in an editor to be like. But we didn't really dig into exactly how to find it. We talked a little bit about freelance sites, Chapterly, Dribbly, Readsy, all the E's.
If it ends in Y, it's probably for the reader, is what you're saying. Grammarly. Yeah, it's literally they're all going to end in Y. So funny.
LYSY. And then word of mouth is another way to find. There's, different sites that we can go on that we can find different types of editors. We can find editors through our publisher. We can find editors that we contract. But what we really need to talk about is if we're ready for an editor. And there's no point in finding one if you're not truly ready for it, right? So, I'm sorry. So how do we know if we're ready for an editor? Are we ready to receive feedback? I hated feedback until very, recently in my professional career. Did I learn how to dismantle some of the things that were standing in the way of me truly accepting feedback. So to explain how bad it was, I would receive scores back from like my professors in college or my teachers in high school. And I would not look if I received a physical paper back, and they often would put them upside down so that your classmates didn't see what your grade was. I wouldn't even pick it up. Like, I would keep it face down and recycle it on my way out. I wouldn't look at it. And I would not know at all what my grade would be like until I got my report card or, final scores, because I could not look at somebody taking apart my writing and telling me what was poor about it. Now, looking back, I realize that's not what, editing a manuscript or an essay is. It's really to make it better. That's why we do it. But I was not good at that. I was not good at, saying, I poured my heart out into this paper and you tore it apart. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about today is us as authors and writers being ready for that type of critical feedback. It's very, very hard. It often contributes to our imposter syndrome. It contributes to us, that some of us are perfectionists, and it really hinders us from being good writers. But what we need to realize is that there's a level of trust that's so necessary in our relationship with our editor, that if you have an editor that you cannot accept feedback from them, they're probably not the right editor.
True.
It also might be a you problem where you need to work through why you cannot accept feedback.
Cough, cough. We are hitting all the hard topics this little last what's next. I know, it's true though. Like, sometimes it does take some self-awareness to go, maybe I am the problem here. Maybe I just don't want to know this right now.
Maybe I'm not ready. We talked in the second first and second week, I think about writing with the door closed, and now it's time to write with the door open and let somebody in, let somebody that we trust breathe into the manuscript and make it better.
Yeah.
So if you think that you're going to write a book and people are going to read it and you don't need an editor, what do you think people are going to be saying about your book? Are you ready to read your Amazon reviews? Are you ready to read, what people post on Book Talk, on Instagram, books of Instagram? People are going to be reviewing your book. So let your editor, the professional, do it first.
And again, you guys have been on social media for any segment of time. People are horrible on there. They will rip apart anything. They will find something to blast on any kind of forum because they don't have a face attached to it. Like, they are keyboard warriors, as you know and see. Like, these people don't care about you. They don't care about your manuscript. They want to make it seem like it is the worst thing that they've ever read or the best thing they've ever read. There's not a whole lot of middle ground gauge when you get on social media platforms. So you're going to have those anyway. To keep them at a minimum, have an editor. Case in point, I have just done my second children's book called A Holy Hope. It is a Christmas book coming out on Amazon. So shameless plug here. But in the process of this, so I am dealing with a formatter, an illustrator, an editor, and my husband. Okay, so the reason all four of these come into play is my illustrator, he is like locked in and loaded on the picture. Like, he's not thinking, like, he's seen the manuscript, but that's it. He is looking for themes. He's looking for, what does this picture need to depict of this stanza on this page? That's what he's doing. I come back through as the author. Now, this is a weird one because normally I'd be working with the publisher. I am the publisher. I really love my publisher. She's so nice. But I'm working as the author and the publisher. So I come through and I'm having to remember to put different hats on. Like, this is from an author. Well, I sent him a screenshot one time and I was like, is our angel pooping a sword? And he was like, dadgummit. And so the way that the picture showed, it won't be in the book. We've edited it. The sword was coming out his hiney and it looked like he was pooping it. And it was so funny. And then there was one segment where the angel is appearing to Mary. And I was like, okay, the angel is very aggressive with that sword because it was like, it was out, and I was like, he's not going to slaughter Mary. And so, like, all of these things of different edits that have to happen in order to make the book better. Because had I just been like, here you go, world. Oh, I love this book. People would have been like, that looks like that picture is ridiculous, And so as much as it's like, oh man, that stinks. Well, then my formatter, she's going through, or sorry, my editor, Brooke Black. I was like, here is the original. And she was like, okay, there were some, then it was like the format of like, okay, do we want to capitalize every first letter in each stanza, or every line of each stanza? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, this is what people normally do, or this is the standard, or this is a preferred method, but you can pick, and all this stuff. So she helped me a ton. And then I put it in a Google Doc and she edited through, and City of David, oops, city wasn't capitalized, or oops, I typed hen instead of then. Like, all of these things completely needed an editor. And then my sweet husband, who is not an editor by trade, but is very, very good at finding discrepancies in a situation like this. So I let him read it, and he was like, the angel wouldn't have said that. And I was like, you're right, because it was in a format that, like, the flow wasn't correct. And so then I had to change the entire stanza. And so editing is so important because I had 4 people looking at it. Then my illustrator looks at it at the very end for pictures and all this stuff. And he was like, oh, you know what you should put there is east, like from the east instead of in the land or something. Like, so we changed something at the very last minute because it was like, that's just a better flow. I am not the only one that touched this book, and everyone that saw this book, gave me instruction and criticism, but it wasn't criticism. It was aid. It was help. It was influence. It was an increase in the overall product that I am delivering to the customer. I want this thing to be the best thing it can possibly be. But had I had a chip on my shoulder, or had I had this like situation or this imposter syndrome of like, oh, I'm never going to be able to write a book because everyone's having to correct it. And I should have known that.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't have. I'm reading it for the overall theme. I'm reading it for the overall view. I'm reading it going, who do I want to read this book and how do I want them to feel?
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking about. And Brooke's like, that needs a comma. Okay, put a comma there. So that is the importance. I cannot stress this enough. Trust in your people. Mm-hmm. My husband does not want this book to fail. That's why he told me, Angel's not going to say that. Change it to this. Brooke doesn't want me to fail. That's why she said tedious every line upon line of the line editing. Do this, do this, do this, do this. You have to have those people. So I'm so thankful because now my book is even better than it was when it started out on my sweet little note on my phone in the Notes app as this little dream book. So there you go.
Yeah, and you have to trust that that they're not also coming in to tear your book apart. Although it might look like that with all the notes and everything written and the comments on the side.
There's so much yellow. Yeah, exactly.
The editor's not going to work with you if they don't like your book. They love your book. They are loving you through this whole process. And if they're not the right editor for you. But most likely they're doing it because they love this job. They want your book to be successful and they're helping make it better. They're not telling you what's wrong.
And they wouldn't have been able to write this book. It's not like the editor saying like, oh, I could have done this so much better. They're taking what you have said and they're saying to make it sound better or to clarify or to flow or to sound literate, appear that you know this. Here's a comma, here's a punctuation, here's a change in the flow, here's a tense, whatever it is. And that's the importance of the trust. You have to have it. You just have to have it.
We could probably do a whole webinar series on trust.
I really do feel like we could actually. So the sting sometimes does feel constructive or criticism, but it's really constructive. And I wouldn't even think of it as criticism. Like a criticism says,
I like the word aid, you said.
Your book is not good. A critique, a criticism is sometimes that just a negative sense. I really don't think editing is negative. Editing is in order to enhance what you have or aid, as we just said. So I do think that is a good take of, am I ready for an editor? Yes, I'm ready for someone to look at this thing with unbiased eyes and tell me how I can improve this as a whole. So I agree.
Yep. Trust is essential, and looking inward and kind of determining what is the holdup with having an editor and, why am I hesitant to do it? And really, really figuring that out and ironing out what you need to do to, let other people breathe into your manuscript.
I know Brooke, we haven't really talked on this, but like, is there an interview process that they could go to or go through with an editor? Like, how do they know and when do they know, like, this is not my editor? Like,
I don't
know. Feel that?
I don't know necessarily about an interview process, although some editors might use them. I really believe in just authenticity and connection. They're two of my core values at my company, and that's what I've built my company on. So for me, it just looks like having regular meetings and really, touching base. I've edited for people that I haven't met and have just communicated, via email or some type of platform. And it's a lot harder than whenever I truly connect with someone, even if it is on Zoom, and get to hear their voice and get to, really like look at them in the eye and understand who they are as a person. The people that I am editing for on a long-term basis, people that are still working on their manuscripts or that are in my coaching program, I meet with multiple times a month to really connect with them. We talk more about more than just the book. Like I have one client who she likes sunshine and champagne. So we've sat outside in person and sat in the sun and had her laptop and journaling notes and, the poster board and the Post-it notes and everything. And I brought a bottle of champagne and we did that. I've had people that like to stay up late at night and drink tea. And I have stayed up late at night drinking tea over Zoom because that's whenever they were the most comfortable. So sometimes I feel like I'm almost meeting them where they're at in like a counseling way. Not that I'm a counselor by any means, but really having to get them to a place of relaxing and connecting with me and being just who they truly are. So I would love to like have talking meetings with people, if they lived near me, and just connecting in ways that are, beyond the transaction of a contract and sending a manuscript back and forth. And that's how I establish trust with my clients. I know that every editor is going to be different, but that's what I can speak to on my behalf, Ellie.
I agree. This is incredible. Again, this is one of our shorter segments. The first couple of weeks we had just really long form because there was so much information. But I really do think that this was a really great way to just wrap this thing up. And so just remind us that we find an editor through word of mouth and freelancer site. So start there. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know who your publisher is right now. Just do the next step, the next thing in line of what you're doing. If you've not written the book, write. If you have written it, but you're a little scared of editing, find a beta reader. If you found the beta reader and they've read it and you now know you need the editor, go to the freelance sites or freelancer sites and see, like, is this the next step? Or do I contact Brooke? Do I contact Brooke and say, hey, do you know someone who maybe it's not you, but is there someone else that you would recommend? Just do the next thing, because that's kind of how this whole thing gets started. I mean, the very first thing for Abound that I did was I literally made a post in a huge forum group on Facebook, and it said, in search of an illustrator. Mm-hmm. That was it. I had no style. I had no idea. And about 3 or 4 people tagged the same person. Her name was Cassidy Doolittle, and the rest is history. She has illustrated almost 3 and 1 in process, 4 books right now. And she's illustrated like 5 or 6 different things. And so like, she didn't know she needed me, and I didn't know she needed her, but I didn't go looking for Cassidy Doolittle. I went looking for an illustrator, and Cassidy Doolittle was what was happening at the time. And I mean, if you follow us on anything, like I'm absolutely a proponent in the connection with the Lord and with Jesus. And I know that there are things in this that we can't always predict and we don't always know, but we can do the next thing. And kind of one of the core values I know we were talking about earlier, but like one of the things that I've stayed on in this whole entire process, the 2 soundtracks, as John Acuff calls them, are it's just a book. This has no emotional tie to me in the sense that it does not give me identity. It does not give me value. It doesn't give me fame or success in a vain way. It is just a book. Now, this book I want people to read because I think the content in it is something to attain and to read and to know and to understand, but it is just a book. And secondly, kind of the thing that we do at our house is you be Jesus and let God be God. You act like Jesus wants you to act and let God do what only he can do. So sometimes it just means, hey, Brooke, can you give me some pro tips? Or, hey, freelancer site, I'm looking for an editor. And it might be a closed door, but that's okay. Maybe that's the next thing of like, well, it's not this, so I'm going to go over here and do this next portion. Don't be scared to put yourself out there because you're probably going to fall and trip a little bit, but it's okay because you're learning and you're growing. And I really do think that growth opportunities are the only way for this thing to even actually work, is to go, I don't ever want to do that again. Oopsie. But I did land in this situation because of that oopsie. And this is really good. So don't be scared to screw up a little bit. It's okay. And we are not perfect here, but we have a lot of grace. which is one of our core values. So thank you so much, Brooke. You have been so incredible, such a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, thank
She is
you.
amazing. So don't bombard her with your emails just yet. Kind of do it a little bit, but ask her if you have questions, if you need some guidance on the editing side. Please go and follow us on social media. Email us if you have questions. Make sure and sign up for our newsletter. Anything that you have that you're wanting us to touch on, let us know, and we might just hop on to a random live or do another one of these if we get some good feedback as far as specific topics. So thank you again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And Brooke, we will be seeing you so soon.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.